GreenTek Building Solutions has broken down the barrier of energy loss and provides a greener tomorrow. For years, the biggest problem facing consumers has been the rising cost of heating and cooling their homes. Insulating a building is the best way to reduce their cost. However, homes built prior to the late 70s have inadequate insulation, and worse, many can't be insulated. Brick homes came with very little or no insulation. The interior wall was either plaster directly applied to the brick or lath that was applied to the brick and plastered over. This method left no cavity to provide insulation materials of any kind. The same problem exists in wood construction. This method used 2x4 studding as a frame with furring or lath strips to receive the plaster. During the war in the 40s, although plaster finishing was preferred, drywall was used in some homes due to the lack of labor. By the late 70s, drywall was the standard material for finishing walls. Unlike brick lath buildings, wood construction provided an insulation cavity. However, insulation was very seldom used until building enforcement codes required it in the early 80s. There are approximately 45 million homes in the U.S. that lack the proper level of insulation. The only way for these homes to be insulated was to rip out the plaster and lath, as you see in this picture. This is very costly, time-consuming, unhealthy, and could you imagine trying to manage your normal living arrangements while this is being done? Here we have a close-up of the insulation cavity. Take notice of the knob and tube wiring and also bring your attention to the bracing at the bottom, which is found throughout the wall. We will address this later. Even after going through all this work, you can never thoroughly insulate these walls. In fact, the United States National Electric Code forbids the use of loose, blown-in, or expanding foam insulation over knob and tube wiring, so updating the electrical is required. However, since knob and tube is very difficult to remove, most contractors disconnect it rather than ripping it out. This method, as you can see, will create several air gaps. Here you see a brick wall. The solution here is studding the wall with conventional framing, insulate, and then drywall. The studded wall will accept an R13 insulation bat. The 2x4 stud has an R rating of 2, and when you combine the air gaps and breaks of the studding, you lose R value. Additionally, you lose valuable living space as the walls will start closing in on you. Of course, concerning the use of our natural resources is just another reason this is not a preferred method. Spray and blow-in insulation has improved throughout the years, but they are not the solution for homes built prior to the 1980s. At best, this is a hit-and-miss system, even done by the professional. First, cellulose doesn't fill the void very well, and in time, by gravity, will drop to the bottom of the cavity. Expanded foam is much better with its ability to expand. However, many foam products lose their insulating properties as they use gas to obtain a higher insulation value. But in time, the gas escapes, reducing the insulation R value. Another downside to expanding foam can build great pressures which even bend steel if too much product is injected. In older homes, this may blow out window and door frames and blow out interior walls. The random bracing that was used in older homes makes all spray injection systems a hit-and-miss application. As shown here in this illustration, spray injection is done by drilling small access holes through the outside wall. In an effort not to affect the outside facade, they use the least amount of holes as possible, normally in a horizontal line every 16 inches. This makes virtually filling all voids impossible, even by a seasoned professional. time, expense, and loss of living space are not the only issues. Indoor air quality is a growing concern. Unhealthy asbestos and lead products were used in nearly every home built prior to 1978. Asbestos was still utilized in construction after this year, just in much smaller quantities. If you live in an area where these contaminants are regulated, the costs will be immense due to special certified experts, not to mention the health risk of these materials. Well, there is another method. You've got to be kidding me. GreenTek has developed a better solution which saves time, space, money, and provides a healthier environment. GreenTek introduces the NEOThinWall. At the core of the NEOThinWall is its superior insulation, Neopor. Neopor is the most energy-efficient insulation available today and carries the Green Guard certification. What sets Neopor above the rest? Graphite. BASF has introduced graphite into the molecular structure of expanded polystyrene, also known as EPS. This provides infrared absorbers and reflectors, which makes Neopor 20% more efficient than EPS. NEOThinWall is available in different substrates for above and below grade applications. With the NEOThinWall, there are no rip-outs. It is as easy as installing drywall, and most importantly, your project will be accomplished without releasing harmful VOCs. Start by removing the casing and trim. Then apply the NEOThinWall and attach it with drywall screws. Then simply tape and spackle the screws and tape joints and paint. The only additional step that is required is extending the door and window jambs and reattaching or replacing your trim. The NEOThinWall is quick and easy and provides a new wall surface and insulates far better than conventional methods, as it has no breaks in insulation. Depending on your needs, the NEOThinWall comes in 1.5, 2.5, and 3.5 inch panels. No matter how hopeless you think your project is, GreenTek Building Solutions NEOThinWall has a quick and simple solution. This 10,000 square foot building took only 3 days to complete the walls. So you can go from that to this in a matter of days and not only enjoy a refreshed and new surface, but save much needed energy costs.